Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning, NAPS family. Thanks for listening to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I'm your host, Robert Wakefield, president of Branch 32. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, we had listeners last week from all over the country. We had it from New York, Virginia, Ohio, South Carolina, Florida, Arizona, Texas, California, Illinois, wherever you are listening. Thank you so much. So, enough of the introductions here. You've got a great show lined up for you, so let's go ahead and pour that first cup. This season, we pause to reflect on the spirit of gratitude, and we're especially thankful for you. To our members, to our postal family, thank you for trusting us, growing with us, and standing together through every season. From holiday mail to everyday moments, your dedication inspires everything we do. You remind us that service is more than a job, it's a legacy. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our first cup this morning, we are so happy to have joining us today once again. He's been here on the program before. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our good friend, Brian Wagner. Brian, how are you?
Robert, I'm great. Again, thanks for inviting me on to your number one podcast in the world. I love being on. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't know if it's number one in the world, but it's number one in our hearts, and I think that's important, right?
That is true. So true.
Now, tell everybody where you're calling in from.
Well, I'm actually calling in from a cruise ship out in the Bahamas. I'm actually on a NAPS training cruise through the Capital Atlantic. They brought me in to give training on advocacy and officers training, and we're right outside the Bahamas. So we're at port and watching out the beautiful ocean there and the blue skies. And it's a little, it's kind of like I'm not drunk. It's just a wave of the ocean here. But
well, it's good to know that you're not drunk. Thank you for that.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, I wanted to have you on today because all of us branch presidents got an email from you talking about your latest Zoom into Training series, which is about Advocacy Boot Camp. And so I wanted to bring you on, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about what the core mission of ABC really is.
Well, Robert, I really appreciate you bringing me on for this. Let me tell you, I've been doing Zoom into Training for almost 2 years, since January 24, and it's gone over very well. One of the things, though, I have reached out, or presidents have reached out to me, for help and for some guidance on maybe some cases. But when I talk to them, they say, you know what, I am so busy. They'll say they have 5 or 6 cases going on. They need more advocates trained to help them.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I came up with. Again, I do Zoom into Training, but I had decided that let's put something together that we can help get people trained quickly, right? Mm-hmm. So I came up with Advocacy Boot Camp. And what that entails is about 12 to 15 hours of training over 3 days, 4 to 5 hours a day with some breaks. Mm-hmm. But what we do is we focus on the rights of the EAS employee, how an EAS employee can stay out of trouble.
Right.
And then we get into filing EAS grievances for 17s and below, and how to handle investigative interviews and OIG investigations. Okay. And then we also get into the mediation of a 650, how to do mediation. And then 650 basic and what I call the advanced, how to handle letters of warning, emergency placement, whether it's even more severe letters of warning in lieu of 7 or 14 days, or adverse action.
Right.
And plus we touch on debt collection of the Debt Collection Act of 1982, making sure our members don't get tagged with having to pay a debt, don't pay what you don't owe, as I call it.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things we focus on in this, what I call intense boot camp training.
So it's a 3-day training session. Do I have that right?
Right. I've started it now. Again, this is initial on November 15th, 16th, and the 22nd. I started from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, and I have classes broken down. We'll do 4 to 5 hours of training, and for a Saturday and then a Sunday, and then maybe the following Saturday in this case. But what we try to do is make sure that we hit it all at once. Mm-hmm. Because if we tried to do this training, let's say at 2-hour sections a week, it could take 6 to 7 weeks to get done.
Oh yeah.
And if someone's trying to get trained and they miss a session, then you got to come back and redo it. Now, I will tell you, I've also bringing in what I call an executive leadership communication coach.
Oh, okay.
Her name's Melissa Ensminger. She's a professor. She's an attorney. Her job is to help leaders be better communicators, how to deliver tough news, how to lead with authority, how to read the room, the art of listening. She helps people feel confident in their communications. And as an advocate for members, you have to be able to communicate with the postal leadership. And what Melissa does is comes in and helps them hit that niche on how to be confident when they're communicating. Now, I am paying her to do this. I get nothing for it. She's part of my Rotary. I believe it's about service above self. Right. One of the things I'm always looking for is other resources to bring in to help improve our members' ability to be a good advocate.
That's so good. I love that.
We're seeing branches needing more people to step up. Again, I'm doing training here, about 80 people. We're doing advocacy. We're doing president's training, officers training. But again, you can't send everybody to in-person training. And I love doing in-person training. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to be doing this year. I'm going to Minnesota in November. I'm going to California in January. But we can't always send everybody to training, and the cost can be kind of prohibitive by the time you look at hotels and food and travel. That's why the Zoom into training, I feel, is so important.
Right.
Now, I will tell you there is a cost for my training. I do charge $250 a person. Now, that is to help me pay for Melissa's services. And I also provide the advocate with a certificate of completion. They get mailed out that they're a trained advocate.
Cool.
But when you look at it, when you look at this 12 to 15 hours of training, it really breaks down to about $15 an hour to get somebody trained, right about minimum wage.
Right.
And one of the things I try to tell people, I said, look, if you send 3 people from your branch, it's only $200 a person to save money.
Oh, okay.
Because to do all this training that I'm providing, if you just called me up to do Zoom training over a 7-week period, it costs you about $800 for the time that I have services. So here, somebody can get trained quickly, and then they have someone to call on, like myself, as a resource. And Robert, we've talked. If somebody needs a letter or they need some information, maybe a sample letter, they can get that from me.
Right.
They can call me for guidance too. I mean, I'm not the total advocates out there.
Right.
But I want to make sure that we provide this boot camp training. And I know it's November. I know it's coming into peak season. But I at least wanted to get it out there. And if it takes off well, then we'll start moving into maybe every other month.
Sure.
So you're maybe hearing some people behind me. I'm on the cruise ship. I think the band's ready to play, so I get my dancing shoes on. But one of the things is just to make sure we get it out there so that people are comfortable with it. So
let me ask you this, Brian. How do people sign up for the 15th, 16th, and 22nd of November?
Well, what they do, they can email me at brianfornaps@aol.com. I have a registration form they can complete. they can send a check or do it by Venmo. I have all the information. Again, it's Brian, Brian, the number 4, NAPS at AOL.com. What I try to do is make sure everybody's registered within 4 days of the start by November 15th. So I have the Zoom links to send to them. They'll register. We'll do, a roll call. And here's the thing, Robert, I'm keeping this small, no more than minimum of 5 to 20 people. I don't want it to be 100 people where you can't get people, get questions answered. That's why it's intimate. That's why it's a real small group, 5 to 20 at a time, so that people can feel comfortable and ask their questions, scenarios. And again, if we go long, we go long. As long as they're good with it, I'm good with it.
Right. Right. Well, it's a great thing, Brian. I really am impressed with the advocacy boot camp. And I think it's going to be a great success. And I think it's something we all need. I really think branch presidents need help.
Well, and I agree. Again, the idea is to start building the bench of advocates and these people to be the future leaders of NAPS. But again, when we're seeing more discipline come up, whether it's removal cases or letters of warning and all the changes coming on with these S&DCs, and now the plant, is going through those whole rifts, there's a lot of changes. We just want to make sure that anyone who wants to be an advocate to help members, we give them the right training. Again, we have the officer's training manual we will make sure we're given excellent training when it comes to advocacy. And that's all we're trying to do. Whether we do it through boot camp or regular Zoom in the training.
Okay, so the address was Brian for NAPS at AOL.com. That's where they go in and get registered. Is that correct?
Right. They just email me. I will send them a form, or they can actually email me the information and we get you set up.
Okay.
So, and again, and I have a form, a Word doc they can complete and send back to me an email. And the idea is just to make sure that we get them registered, they're ready to go. And again, it's a small group from 5 to no more than 20.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Okay.
So before we let you go, we got to get the ice cream flavor of the week. So what is it today, Brian?
Well, we're in the Bahamas and they're good with rum. So we're going to go with rum raisin.
Rum raisin. That is awesome.
Rum raisin.
Well, listen, have a great training session down there in the Bahamas. Thanks so much for calling down there from up here to Tennessee. That's great. And it's great talking to you, Brian.
Thank you again, Robert. Thanks for everything you're doing. And again, love the number one podcast in the world. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. All right. Thanks so much,
care.
Brian. Want your savings to do more than just sit there? With a money market certificate from the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, you'll earn competitive returns while keeping your money safe and sound. You'll enjoy higher dividends than traditional savings, flexible terms to match your goals, and it's federally insured to give you peace of mind. It's smart, secure, and built for postal professionals who plan ahead. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union. People helping people since 1925. And for our second cup today, it is now time to recognize that we are in November. Can you believe we're in November? Unbelievable. November 1st is today, and let's look at some of the obscure holidays in the month of November. Now, we know about the heavy hitters. We know about Thanksgiving. We know about Veterans Day and Black Friday, if you want to count rushing down and getting a TV on that day as a tradition. Okay, so be it. We have some really obscure ones here, like November the 6th, for example, is National Nachos Day. All right, there you go. November 6th, National Nachos Day. Here's a day that I think that we all need to celebrate, and I think that we should do this together. It's Clean Out Our Refrigerator Day. Now, this day feels oddly spiritual to me for some reason. It's a day that we can confront the mysterious Tupperware in the back and say goodbye to that half-used jar of pickles that have been in there since July. So November 15th, Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. And here's one that's real. This is obscure holiday, but it is real. I'm not making this one up. It's World Toilet Day. It's not a joke. It is backed by the United Nations to raise awareness about global sanitation. It's a quirky name with a serious mission. It reminds us how much we take for granted clean water in parts of the world. And finally, on the 27th, it's National Bavarian Cream Pie Day, because why not? It's creamy, it's fabulous, and it's the perfect excuse to eat dessert before dinner or for dinner. No judgment here from me, I tell you what. So there's some obscure holidays, whether you're celebrating the Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. There's a day called Button Day. You can celebrate buttons, I guess. It's just a wonderful time of year. So go out there and enjoy yourself on these obscure holidays in the month of November. And there's nothing obscure about this podcast. Brian called it the greatest podcast in the world. And, well, by golly, okay, I'll take that. All right. Thanks so much for listening to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. And as I do on every episode, please share this podcast with all your NAPS family or EAS friends. And let's get this thing growing nationwide. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Robert Wakefield. And remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupofJoe@gmail.com.